little word and functions here for Swift. Now we're going to look at a few more data types and usage of functions also as first-class citizens. That's what it's called. So first we're going to go into arrays. Arrays are simply declared. So for example, I can have variable numbers, and that can have several numbers, 76, 75, 5, 89, 45, for example. And that's one array. I can reference one element of the array by pointing its index starting at 0. So the first element is element 0, number 0. And you will see that that's 76. Numbers 2, that's the third element in the array, should be 5. Whoops, should be 5. And you can see it's there, 5. So that's how arrays work. Now, if I want to count this, say for example I want to get the sum of all the elements of the array, well, I can just do this. Var sum is 0, and then a for loop. For var I equals 0, I is less than numbers.count. Many languages will have .length, but this is .count, I++. Now note that I don't have parentheses here. Most C and Java and variants of C and variants of Java might have parentheses around this condition. In Swift, I don't need those parentheses, and then I can do sum plus equals numbers I, right? And that should give me, if I do print sum, then I should get 290, which is the sum of all these variables. This is the typical for loop, not the typical, but this is the most traditional for loop. There's another way of doing this for loop in a way that's more Swift-like, and it uses iterators, that's what they're called, and can be done like this. Instead of doing this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the value of I equals 0, okay, and I'm sorry, I'm going to do I in, and then 0 ... less than numbers.count. What this does is it loops the list of, this creates a list of, or an iterator of, numbers from 0 to 1 less than numbers.count, and the length of the array. And then I is going to be taking the value 0, 1, 2, all the way till, you know, 1 less than numbers.count. Okay? And then it can do numbers.I. Okay, and you can see print sum still evaluates to 290. This is one way to iterate over numbers that it's more Swift-like than the previous one that I showed you, but it doesn't really matter. There's some efficiencies things here and there, but if you're just doing it for 5 elements or 7 elements, it's really not an issue. Now, the third for loop that you can do is iterate through the elements of numbers directly, not through the indices, but through the elements. This is like the enhanced for loop in Java. This is the regular for loop in Objective-C. This is the for loop in Python. Okay? And you do it like this. For n in numbers, and then you do the following. Then you say sum equals n. Whoops, not nil, n. Okay? Now, what this does is, for each element in numbers, for each element n in numbers, it's going to add it to the sum that starts at 0, right? So if you evaluate this, this still evaluates to 290. And this is, if you can use this for loop, always, always, always use this for loop. That's the preferred one. Now, one last thing that I want to cover here is functions as first-class citizens, and I'm going to cover that in the next video.